the FBI just issued an important warning that I want you to be aware of. They're asking us to be vigilant and to look out for two words that if they appear in our email, we need to be super, super careful. So what are these two words? First, I want to share with you how to protect yourself on your email and just general things that are super important. And the first one is, if you don't know somebody, if you didn't ask for information, be very, very careful about clicking on a link or opening up an attachment. It's just phishing scams have gotten so sophisticated, right? There used to be grammar mistakes in emails. There used to be misspelled words, but unfortunately now with AI, all of that's gone away. And scammers have gotten so good, it's nearly impossible for us to use signals within the email, but oftentimes there can be a flag, and that's what these two words are about. And the two words are designed to extract an emotional response from us. And so we want to be super careful because scammers want us to act before we think. And that's why these two words can be a flag. So what do we do? How do we protect ourselves? It's getting increasingly difficult to protect ourselves. And I've got three things before I share what these two words are that I think we all need to do. And the first one is we need to carefully check email address. Now, email addresses, this is not a fail-safe, but like in Gmail, if you get an email from somebody, it may say that, it's from this Fortune 500 company. But if you click on the email address, you might find that it's, some bogus sounding email, or it may have a caricature in there, a character that looks like something from our 26-letter alphabet, but maybe it's actually from another alphabet, and it looks like an R, it looks like a P, it looks like a T, but it's actually another symbol. And they can actually register that, unfortunately. So it will look like it's coming from a Fortune 500 company. The other thing is it's important to use two-factor authentication, which is where companies will send you a code to your phone. So it's not just your password, but it's also a code. Now, what does this have to do with our emails? What it has to do with is if we make a mistake and we click on a link and the bad people get access to our passwords, they still need two-factor authentication. They still need access to our phone. Now, unfortunately, there's ways around that. They can actually take personally identifiable information on us and try to scam our cell phone companies into reassigning our phone number to them. And then guess what happens to our two-factor authentication codes? It goes to the bad guys. So now they have our password and they have our phone number, and they can do a lot of damage if they have that. So even better than two-factor authentication where you get texted a code, I think, I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I think the authentication apps where you're not texted something, but it resides on your phone. Now, if somebody steals your phone, you still got a big problem, which is another thing. Way too many people, have an easy-to-guess code for their cell phone. So if that's you, a lot of people have 4 codes. I'd urge you to take it to 6 or 8. And I'd urge you to do something that's not very easy to guess. Because if they get your phone, guess what? They have your email now. And from that, they also could have your two-factor authentication. So either they steal your SIM card by fooling the cell phone carriers, by knowing your personally identifiable information, which is another thing. Be super careful with your personally identifiable information online because it can be used against us. Even silly things like, giving your cat's name on your Facebook post, showing Mittens in your Facebook post. So you got to be very, very careful about that. Okay. And the other thing is regarding passwords. Many of my audience are in our 40s or 50s or 60s or older, and many of us are not using a password manager yet. And if that's you, I urge you to consider using a password manager, because if you're reusing the same passwords, if they get access to one password, now all of a sudden they have access to 2, 3, 4, 5 different accounts. and you probably don't want that to happen. And a password manager is A, very affordable, and B, easy to use. Um, so it does take a little bit of a mental shift into how you interact with your online accounts. But once you make that transition, it's super easy. And now you don't have to remember all of these, dozens of different emails. You want to be sure that the password you use for the password manager is unique and only you know it. And it's a long stream. And it's also something that you won't forget. Okay. And just like a password manager protects your passwords, just quickly, as a financial advisor for over 20 years, I can't help myself. Your password manager protects your passwords, but what protects your retirement? What protects your financial plans? I would argue that having a well thought out financial plan, it makes it helps guard and increase the likelihood of achieving your financial goals. And the gold standard for doing a financial plan is to work with a fiduciary financial advisor, somebody that has your best interest in mind. And unfortunately, it can be not an insignificant amount to work with a financial advisor. It's not unusual for a financial advisor to charge 1% of the assets under management. I think it's well worth it. Quick aside, because if you make 10% mistake, it pays for 10 years of a professional walking alongside you. And I can tell you, it's super easy to make a 10% mistake when you're looking at taxes in retirement, when you're looking at when to take Social Security, whether to do a Roth conversion, things like that. Now, that said, I know many of you are never going to use a financial advisor. Mea culpa, I'm biased. I was a financial advisor for over 20 years. But if you're not going to use a financial advisor, I urge you to use software that's designed to help make sure you don't forget things and the calculations are actually correct. It's way too easy to make a mistake if you're using an Excel spreadsheet, if you're using Google Sheets, and for a relatively modest amount of money, you can have software that's designed for you to make it easy to think through these things and make sure you don't make mistakes, at least calculation mistakes. The software I like is called Bolden. I'll leave a link in the description below. If you use that link, you'll be supporting the channel. This video is not sponsored by Bolden, but I do think it's great software. Okay, so what are these two words that the FBI is warning us against? And again, these two words are designed to invoke an emotional response from us. They're designed to get us to act before we think. And so these two words are act now, act fast, urgently necessary, whatever the act now and act fast or what's in the FBI warning, but anything, a short message that's designed to invoke reaction to act first and think later. I don't want to see you fall victim of that. I want to see you continue to make great decisions. It's why I do this channel. And if you like this video, the YouTube algorithm says this is the next video of mine that you should watch. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.